Already an iron curtain had dropped around Poland, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria.
Ah, but this is Europe, you say. But let's see what can happen elsewhere in, say, the small town of Mosinee, Wisconsin. Peaceful, isn't it? But the red truncheon falls and the chief of police is hustled off to jail. Next, public utilities are seized by fifth colonists. Watch carefully what happens to an editor who operates under a free press. He goes to jail, too.
Saudi Arabia and Mary Alice Williams in New York.
Good evening, and now the first shots have been fired. They were fired in warning today by 2 U.S. Navy ships against 2 Iraqi oil tankers. One incident occurred in the Gulf of Oman outside the entrance to the Persian Gulf. 6 shells fired there. The second encounter was in the Persian Gulf itself. 3 shots fired there. The shelling was authorized by U.S. Navy commanders after the 2 Iraqi ships failed to stop as requested by the American vessels. Following the warning shots, the tankers were allowed to proceed by the Navy. Andrea Mitchell is a pool reporter aboard the USS Eisenhower. She sent this report after the first incident was disclosed.
In the state Senate today, Congressman Emil Seidel introduced a series of new bills that will reallocate surplus funds from local research programs to fund the military buildup in the Persian Gulf. Among the budget cuts was a controversial bill that will close a lucrative pharmaceutical research facility located in the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus.
Meanwhile, as Saddam Hussein and the U.S. Navy turned up the heat in the Persian Gulf, President Bush was trying to maintain his cool, or at least the appearance of calm. Just as the shooting broke out in the Gulf, President Bush was winding up his morning game of golf. Within minutes, the president was out on the ocean. He boarded a Coast Guard cutter where he received his morning intelligence briefing, which included the first word of the shooting incidents in the Gulf. In less than an hour, he was back on his boat, Fidelity. The president was fishing when Iraq announced it would withhold food from Americans and other foreign nationals if the U.S. did not lift its naval blockade.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Your Turn with Jack McGrath. I'm Jack McGrath, and my guest this evening is Dr. Victoria Bergere, a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Good evening, Dr. Bergere.
Good evening, Jack.
Now, 3 months ago, you and several of your students and colleagues were arrested for a sit-in demonstration, and yet its agenda was never made clear, and there was no political association connected with it. However, it did come out in the press soon after that they had labeled it as a group of misguided students led by their radical anti-American ideologue professors. Now that confusion subsided when it came out, while you were still incarcerated, that the group you represent is called the Wisconsin Interstice Group, a political organization calling for the secession of the state of Wisconsin from the United States of America. The secession of the state of Wisconsin from the United States of America. Now, I have to ask you, Doctor, and I think our audience wants to know, are you nuts?
Well, thanks for having me, Jack. First of all, I'd like to point out that I've been avoiding media attention because of the somewhat sensational nature of this topic.
I think, Professor, that the American people want the truth, not some sycophantic rantings, especially from someone who wants to rip apart their nation.
And secondly, I need to mention that the Wisconsin Interstice Group and my relation to it are grossly misunderstood. We are not a militia. We are not the Confederate States of America. We're an advocacy group for the citizens of Wisconsin, and we want to create an environment of governance that engenders social equality.
But Professor, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't some of your most ardent supporters white supremacists like the Aryan Nation? If that's the case, how can you expect people to believe that your mission is social equality?
Back in Washington, the Iraqi ambassador was summoned to the State Department, where U.S. officials delivered the protest. But the Iraqis' use of Americans in a form of psychological warfare could already be taking its toll. Rao Morkipudi of Milwaukee is worried. His wife and 10-year-old daughter are being held in Baghdad.
I wish from my personal point of view, President Bush had not sent the people that quickly. At least the people that are stuck there now would have got out.